Hi, my name is Tyler Larsen, and this is my video presentation for Project 2 in ME3210 Design and Manufacturing taught by Dr. Hassan Rashidi. I call my product the EZMix Watercolor Palette, which is an innovation on a typical watercolor palette designed to help make the paint mixing process more ergonomic and also reduce paint waste for watercolors. But first, let's talk about paint palettes. Paint palettes are widely used by artists due to their extreme usefulness for both storing and mixing paints. They provide an easy to hold, easy to clean work surface that allows the artist to know exactly how a blend of paint will look before it hits the canvas. And normally paint palettes are excellent creative tools with almost zero downside. However, I sometimes have a problem with them. I'm a bit of an artist myself, wanted to show a couple of my paintings, and I have a good amount of experience using my own various watercolor paint palettes. And I like my paint palettes, they're simple and get the job done, but usually toward the end of a painting I need to add a couple finishing details, which sometimes require very concentrated colors to emphasize contrast in the painting. To achieve higher levels of paint concentration, I'll add more paint to my paintbrush and less water in order to concentrate the color as much as possible. Now normally it's not difficult to mix watercolor paints since you can easily add a bit of water to the mixing well and add a small amount of paint of various colors until you get the color and consistency just right. However, when there's less water in the paint on my brush for concentrated paint, I tend to have a harder time successfully transferring all that concentrated paint into a mixing well on my palette. And that's the problem I set out to solve with this project. I prepared a short video demonstration to serve as an illustration of this issue. See how when I pick up a concentrated amount of paint and try to transfer it to the mixing dish, only a little bit of paint wants to move off the brush, and the rest ends up getting washed away. So to encourage more paint to transfer to the dish, historically I've tried various strategies such as using my finger to squeeze out as much as possible. And while this method works better, it isn't very efficient since I just end up with paint on my finger. So I needed a better solution. In summary, the problem is that using concentrated paint prevents some of it from transferring from the brush to the palette. And my solution, I present to you the EZMix Watercolor Palette, an innovative new palette that features a simple but effective change in the typical design, which will improve the ergonomics and reduce the waste involved in mixing my paints. So let me explain how it works. Here's a schematic of the new design. It looks almost the same as the original palette design, except that it includes a new innovative feature that I call the brush grooves. These brush grooves are located between each of the 3 pairs of mixing wells, so that each groove can be used for 2 wells, one on each side. The brush grooves themselves consist of 2 conical bumps, forming a tight valley between them, and for scale these bumps are only less than a 1/4 inch tall. The following video demonstration will help explain why these brush grooves are a game changer. So you can see now that just like before, I'm picking up a concentrated amount of red paint and trying to spread it into my paint dish with little success. But now this time, when I pick up the concentrated paint, I'm going to use the brush grooves So, unfortunately, since this prototype was made with just paper and clear tape, I acknowledge that it doesn't work very well, or at least not as I had intended it to. But for now, please imagine with me that the brush grooves are made of the same material as the rest of the palette, as they would be in the final design. I believe it would still improve the ability to squeeze out more of the paint from the paintbrush and let it flow down easily into the mixing well, given that it was the correct material. So I hope that is evident that the EZMix Watercolor Palette has a few key benefits over the original design. Ultimately, it reduces paint waste since more paint will be transferred to the mixing dish rather than just getting washed away. It saves time since I can focus on the creative process and worry less about the mixing. It's easy to use, easy to clean, and has an intuitive design. And while it is an innovative idea, there are still some drawbacks that I'm working on overcoming, since I want to actually utilize this in my painting. First, some paint may stay in the grooves even after running the paintbrush through them like we saw in the demonstration. Second, the grooves may need to be cleaned when you want to change colors depending on the situation. But even still, I believe that the brush grooves have the potential to be a significant improvement to the original design. The EZMix Watercolor Palette is only made of a single material, which is polypropylene plastic, identified by the double P symbol you see on the right. Polypropylene is used in a wide variety of products, like yogurt containers, other food packaging, lab equipment, toys, furniture, backpacks, and even clothes, accessories, and many more things. It's very versatile as a material, with applications in dozens of industries because it has so many beneficial material properties. Like, for example, unlike other plastics, it does not absorb water, which is key for its application to watercolors. It is wear and tear resistant, so it will have a long product lifespan. It's chemical resistant, lightweight, flexible, and it has a significantly small environmental impact when compared with other types of plastics, since it can be recycled to make new products. And with that, I'll talk about the manufacturing process. So to make the watercolor palettes is pretty simple. It can be done with just an injection molding machine as shown in this video. And the process is very straightforward. Polypropylene pellets are fed into an injection mold machine and pushed into the mold after being melted by heating coils. The liquid plastic fills the gaps of the mold as air escapes through tiny air vents, and then the plastic solidifies as it is cooled, pushed out of the mold, and then the process repeats thousands of times. And this is how the paint palettes that I currently use were manufactured. And I've designed the EZMix Watercolor Palette so that it can be manufactured the same way. In this schematic, you can see the cross-section of multiple EZMix watercolor palettes stacked on one another, demonstrating several of the key design features needed for injection molded parts, such as a draft angle, rounded corners, and even thickness throughout the piece. And also this demonstrates that the design is still stackable even while having the spiked brush grooves, which is good for packing and shipping requirements as well. So knowing what I know about injection molding, and considering that I've never designed one before this, I did my best to my current knowledge of the process to follow all the best practices. So overall, by adding one simple feature to the design of an existing product, I believe that I'm on track to recreating a well-established artist tool into one that will better meet my personal painting needs. And just for fun, I've included one final painting that I completed a year and 10 days ago to date. Finally, here are the resources that I used in this project. Thank you very much for listening.